क्षमा राम शताभ सुमनसार्चिताङ्घ्रिशोभ कमलनाभ रविशताभ सुमनसार्चिताङ्घ्रिशोभ अमितविक्रम समर भीम शमल शमन सार्वभौम अमितविक्रम समर भीम शमन शमन सार्वभौम नीलमेघश्याम निखिललोकक्षेमधाम नीलमेघश्याम राम शारदेन्दु सन्निभानन मारुति हृदयैकसदन शारदेन्दु सन्निभानन मारुति हृदयैकसदन धीरलक्ष्मी नारायण सूरिजनोद्धरण निपुण धीरलक्ष्मी नारायण सूरिजनोद्धरण निपुण नीलमेघश्याम नीलमेघश्याम निखिललोकक्षेमधाम नीलमेघश्याम राम पालिसोलिदु हनुम प्रेम पावनात्म सीताराम नीलमेघश्याम निखिललोकक्षेमधाम नीलमेघश्याम राम
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै। Let us chant the Mangala Shloka and the first verse. Parthasarathirupena Shravayitva Shubham Giram Parthasyartiharo Devaha Kripamurtis Sapatunaha Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. Yes. So yesterday we had seen the first verse. Bhagavān spoke to Arjuna. And what is the condition of Arjuna? A grieving Arjuna. Arjuna whose vision had been blurred with tears. And what was the cause of that tear? Vishada, kripa, sorrow basically. So yesterday we were seeing how sorrow can be taken as a blessing in disguise. When that sorrow is turned towards the Lord, that very same sorrow becomes a blessing in disguise. That very same sorrow becomes an intense desire for liberation. So that's why we find in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a prayer of Kunti Mata, isn't it? Vipadaha santu nashashvata tatra tatra jagadguru Bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhava darshanam. Bhagavan vipadaha, vipat, calamities, let it strike again and again. Tatra tatra jagadguru. In fact, Kunti Mata is asking for calamities. Why is it so? Bhagavan, it is only then we pray from the depth of our heart. And only when the prayer touches the heart, you come in front of us. You listen those prayers. We have your direct experience. So therefore, this is the way we have to see the sorrows in our life. Take it to Bhagavan, then that very sorrow becomes a blessing. So now, to such a grieving Arjuna, Bhagavan spoke these words. So the teaching begins here. So how should the teaching begin? The teaching should address the problem. Now what is the problem? Shoka is the problem. Sorrow is the problem. So the answer should be a solution to this problem. A solution to the sorrow. From where does the sorrow arise? What is the cause of sorrow? So now Bhagavan is going to start in this. Bhagavan is going to start directly from self-knowledge. And this is exactly what happens in Bhagavad Gita also. There Bhagavan says, Gatasun agatasuncha nanushocanti panditaha. This is how the teaching begins. Arjuna, the sign of a man of wisdom is he never grieves. The sign of knowledge is wherever there is knowledge, there cannot be sorrow. And wherever there is sorrow, there cannot be knowledge. Ashocyan anvashochastum prajñāvādanscha bhāshase. You are grieving for the matters which you should not grieve for. And then you speak the words of wisdom. Wisdom and sorrow cannot go together. Na anushocanti panditaha. There Bhagavan says that. Panditaha. Panda means atmajnanam, knowledge of the self. So pandita means what? Pandita means the one who has got the self-knowledge. Na anushocanti. Such a person does not grieve. So therefore, to put an end to grief, what you should do? You should gain self-knowledge. This is the only means to put an end to sorrows, whatever type it may be. Now the question is, how is this sorrow connected with lack of self-knowledge? So there has to be a cause-effect relationship. So first of all, we will see that relationship, and this relationship is beautifully elaborated upon by Bhagavān Shankarāchārya in the 2nd chapter. Just after the 10th verse, before the 11th verse begins, Bhagavān Shankarāchārya writes an elaborate commentary. So that we will see in brief, and then we will enter into this. Then only we will understand why directly self-knowledge enters into picture for this situation. So now we are going to see how sorrow is connected to ignorance of the self. So the first one is ignorance of the self. What is ignorance of the self? It is called as avidyā. Avidyā. I don't know myself. But still we know something about oneself, isn't it? I don't know myself as Satchidananda Atma, but what do I know myself as? From inference, we come to know ourselves as this body. How? Whenever there is pain in this body, I suffer. Whenever there is happiness in this body, I enjoy. My experience is limited to the boundaries of this body. Therefore, I am this body. I see in others, whenever the body is born, they come to exist in this world. And whenever the body dies, they cease in this world. I am able to interact with a person as long as that body is available. So therefore, I conclude the existence of the body is the existence of the individual. I see it in others, therefore, through inference, I take it for myself also. It is not out of experience, it is only an inferential knowledge. What is that knowledge? I am this body. So when did I come to existence? When this body came into existence, I came into existence. And when this body will die, my existence will also cease. So since everything is connected to this body, so therefore I conclude, what is the conclusion? This body is me. So from avidyā comes the next one, dehātma bhāva. Dehātma bhāva means what? Deha itself is atma. This body itself is me. This is the second stage. So now I consider myself to be this body. Now what is the tragic thing about this body? This body is fully dependent on the world for its existence. This body's needs are met only by the world. So since the body is totally dependent on the world, And since I am dependent on the body, so therefore, I depend on the body and the body is depending on the world. So slowly I start depending on the world. Right? Only when the body is secure, I am secure. Only when the body is secure from the world. So therefore what I do is, now since this dehātma bhāva is strong, so my happiness, what is the cause of my happiness? Body is the cause. When am I secure? When the body is secure. So therefore I make all the arrangements in the world so that this body is happy, this body is secure. So in the process what happens? From dehātma bhāva slowly comes rāga-dvesha. Raga means likes, dvesha dislikes. Anything of the world which makes this body secure or happy, I like it. Anything of the world which makes this body miserable, I dislike it. So what is the stage? The first one, avidyā. Second one, dehātma bhāva. From dehātma bhāva, rāga-dvesha. Now what happens when the mind is filled with rāga-dvesha? I like certain things, I don't like certain things. The mind is colored. Raga-dvesha colors the mind. What happens when the mind gets colored? You don't see things as it is. You see the colored version of your mind. The world is not seen as it is. The world is colored by your raga-dvesha. Thicker the wheel of raga-dvesha, thicker will be the delusion. So from raga-dvesha comes delusion, moha. Moha. What is moha? Moha is delusion. What is delusion? What is right, you see it as a wrong thing, and what is wrong, you see it as right. There is no clarity in understanding. Wherever there is intense raga-dvesha, you will find moha just following its footsteps. Because the whole world is colored now. You are not seeing the world as it is, you are seeing a colored world, and naturally you are deluded as to what is right and what is wrong. There is no clarity. This confusion of the mind is called moha. And what does this moha do? It forces you to do either adharma or paradharma. This confusion, what does it make you do? To give an example, this we had discussed earlier also. Let us take the example of Arjuna himself. Now what is the problem with Arjuna? He is identified with the body. So now since he is identified with the body, he will be identified to everything related to the body. And who are related to the body? His relatives. He loves them. Raga is there. Intense attachment is there. So Bhishma is there. Drona is there. They are ours. They are all family people. They are all near and dear ones. I love them. So what comes? Raga comes. And now what does his duty demand him to do? He has to fight. He is an army man. In the battlefield, he is not a family man. He is an army man. But because of his intense attachment towards his near and dear ones, he is not allowed to do his duty. Now which role is bigger? Army man role is bigger or a family man role is bigger? When these two come into a conflict, which role you should take? You should take the role of an army man because it is connected to the entire nation. Any role which is connected to a larger cross section of the society, that role demands or occupies higher priority, always. If two roles are coming in conflict, which role we should take? The role which is associated with the larger cross section. So the bigger role asks me to fight the war, the smaller role asks me to go away from the war, because they are my near and dear ones, I can't fight. Now that decision is taken by the smaller role. So which one should I take up? I should abide by the bigger role. But Arjuna is not able to do. Why Arjuna is not able to do? Intense raga. What has this raga created? Moha, delusion. So Arjuna says, dharma sammudha cheta. I am totally confused with respect to dharma. What I should do, what I should not do, I am confused. This is the result of moha. With moha, he was going to do paradharma. What did he say? I will not fight, I am ready to go and beg and live. I will live on alms, bhiksha, I will become a sannyasi, but I will not kill them. No, this is paradharma. Paradharma is nothing but adharma only, there is no difference. And when you do that paradharma, what is the end result of paradharma? Shoka is the result, sorrow is the result. You do what you are not supposed to do, you don't do what you are supposed to do. Then what happens? End result is shoka. The shoka has come from adharma. Adharma has come because of moha. Moha came because of rāga-dvesha. And this rāga-dvesha came because of dehātma bhāva. Dehātma bhāva came because of avidyā. So therefore, if shoka has to end, where should you apply the medicine? Yes. We are not interested in temporary solutions or relief. We are not interested in painkillers. We are interested in permanently solving the problem. From the very root, it should be uprooted. So therefore, the only solution is Atma-jnanam, because that is the problem. When I don't know myself, I will not know how to handle myself in this world, how to handle problems of this world. This is the one thing to be understood. As long as I don't know myself, this not knowing myself will express as confusions in every situation. We think the problem is in the situation. Problem is not in the situation. Problem is in the ignorance of the self. We try to solve the problem by adjusting the situation, by adjusting the environments. That will not solve. It will give some temporary relief. In this world, whatever kinds of problems are there, the solution is Atma-jnanam only. So therefore, this topic is taken up. In Bhagavad Gītā also, Bhagavan does the same thing. The second chapter is called as Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means what? Atma-jnana, self-knowledge is called Sankhya. First 25 verses, if you see, 12 to 25, it is nothing but Atma-jnana. The very same methodology is followed by Bhagavān Ramana also. So what is that Atma-jnanam? Let us chant 2 and 3. Shri Bhagavānu Vāca Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramityabhidhīyate Etat yo veti tam prahuhu Kshetrajñya iti tad vidaha Idam shariram kaunteya Kshetramityabhidhīyate Etat yo veti tam prahuhu Kshetrajñya iti tad vidaha. Next one also we'll chant, page 13. Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajñayor jnanam yat tat jnanam matam mama kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi So both these verses are from the 13th chapter. And these two verses together constitute MAHΑVāKYA. So what is being said here? Arjuna, this understanding should be clear as to who you are. So what is being said? Idam shariram, hey Kaunteya, son of Kunti, idam shariram, this body, kshetram iti abhidhiyate, it is called abhidhiyate, it is called kshetram. This body is called kshetram. Kshetram means field. Field. This body is called field. Etad yo veti, the one who knows this field, this kshetram, kshetrajñah iti tadvidah prahuhu. The one who knows this shariram, this body, is called kshetrajña. Thus, the wise people who know the truth, they say. So now two classifications have been made. The whole world can be divided into two. Here, to summarize, only the body is taken. So what does Bhagavan say? Arjuna, this body is kshetram and the knower of the body is kshetrajña. Now each and every one of us, look within us. What do we find? We find two things, isn't it? Number one, the body. Number two, the knower of this body. Who is knowing this body? We are knowing it, isn't it? Now see the next verse. We think we are knowing it. Bhagavan says, no, I am knowing it. Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi. Who is the kshetrajña? In each and every one of us, Bhagavan says, it is me. Sarva kshetreshu bharata. In all these kshetra means body. Please understand, it is not just body, mind, intellect, everything. To simplify, only body has been said. Anything which is known as an object is kshetra. Anything which can be known as an object is kshetra. The knower of kshetra is kshetrajña. So now, if suppose this spiritual knowledge is not given to us, suppose in the state of ignorance, whom do we consider the knower to be? We say it is me, isn't it? Me means what? Jīvātmā. Who else? Now Bhagavan says, it is not Jīvātmā, it is me, the Paramatma. So what has happened? There is an aikyam there now. One thing is for sure, even an ignorant person will say, the knower is me only. With regard to the knower, there is confusion. An ignorant person will say, the knower is Jīvātmā. A wise person will say, the knower is Paramatma. So the very same knower, which I had considered as Jīvātmā, now in the state of knowledge, I know it as Paramatma. So there is Jīvātma, Paramatma, Aikyam. Now this word is that. Kshetrajñam mam vidhi. Know it to be me. kshetrajñayor jnanam yat tat jnanam matam mama. This knowledge between what is kshetra and what is kshetrajña, this is the real knowledge. In this world, if there is a knowledge which is the ultimate, the highest, then that is this knowledge. The field and the knower of the field. This distinction should be clear. What is the mistake we have done? According to us, both are one. Isn't it? This body is me and the knower is also me only. There is no distinction between kshetra and kshetrajña. Now Bhagavan makes it clear. There are two things. And they are two distinct things. Don't mix it up. And that knower in you is me. Now how to practice this? Are you experiencing the knower? Are you experiencing the knower now? Yes or no? Yes. Who is that knower? Don't say it is me. It is God. So if you are experiencing the knower, and it has to, because it is said sarva kshetreshu, there is no exception. You can't say, Swamiji, in others it may be there, but I don't know whether it is there in me or not. It is sarva kshetra, without any exception. That knower, Bhagavan says, it is me. In the beginning, start with faith. The knower is me means it is God. So now the question is, does God exist? Does God exist? How do you know? There is the knower in me. Knower is there or not? Knower is there for sure. Can you deny it? No. Knower cannot be denied. Therefore, kshetrajñam mam vidhi means what? God cannot be denied. So God is our direct experience. To know this God, do you need eyes, ears, etc.? No. Without any of these equipments, everyone is knowing God. But only difference is, we don't know that this knower in me is God. This ignorance is there. By study of the scriptures, what happens? We come to know that this knower is not me, it is my higher nature, which is God. Now in the next verse, Bhagavan makes it much more clear. Let us see the next verse. Fourth one, page 15. Aham atma gudakesha sarvabhutashayasthitah ahamadischa madhyam cha bhutanamanta eva cha aham atma gudakesha sarvabhutashayasthitah ahamadischa madhyam cha. Yes. Aham atma. I am the very Atma. Atma means what? I. Atma means I, capital I. He Gudakesha, Aham Atma, Sarva Bhutashaya Sthitah. Ashya means heart. So Sarva Bhutashaya Sthitah means I reside in the hearts of all beings. How does Bhagavan reside in the heart of all beings? As Atma, as I. So another pointer is given. Now, does this I exist in each and every one of us? Do you experience I? Now, who is this I? Here Bhagavan says it is me. So who is existing now? Now this, here comes Nididhyāsana now. Till now I have got habituated to consider this I as me, the jīvātmā. Now what you should do? Take your attention to this I. Take your attention to this knower and replace the jīvātmā buddhi with paramatma buddhi. Again and again say, this I is not me, it is he. Aham adischa madhyamcha bhutanam anta evacha. It is not that after knowledge God comes. No. In the past also he alone was Aham Adi. Now also Madhya. Now also he alone is. Bhutanam Anta. After death is also. In the future also he alone will be. Now this is the central message of Srimad Bhagavatam in Chatushloki. I was, I am, I alone will be. Remember, this is the verse which Ramana Maharshi chose as the essence of Bhagavad Gita. One verse. This one is the verse. I was, I am, I will be. Now put it into practice. What is existing now? This existence of mine I have misunderstood as my existence, Jīvātmā's existence. But Bhagavan says it is not your existence, it is my existence, usurped by you, looted by you. What you are experiencing is not your existence. What you are experiencing is my existence. You have misunderstood my existence as your existence. And now we are asking, where is God? Rather, God should ask, where is this Jiva? Isn't it? Who is existing? God is existing. God alone is existing. To make this clear, we take that example of fish in water. It is searching for water. Water alone is there, but now it is searching. Where is water? In the same way, here also we are searching for God. Where is God? Who is God? This I in me is God. This existence in me is God. This knower in me is God. Now please remember, these are not something to intellectualize and make a theory. This is something to be practiced. This is something to be lived. Feel it. That existence. Shift your attention to the existence. Relabel it. Redefine it. And then again experience it. This is called Nididhyāsana. More of it will come later. Right? The more and more you do this, you will slowly find that the habit starts forming of seeing this existence as God's existence. This is the message of the scriptures. In yourself, in your own existence, see the existence of God. Now today, what is the tragedy? Every one of us, we are experiencing existence. Every one of us, we are experiencing consciousness, but we are not seeing pure existence. We are seeing a colored existence. Colored by our mind. Colored by our ignorance. So what is the colored version of existence? The existence of jīvātmā. I am a jiva. This is the colored version of existence. remove the coloring. Really speaking, it is only existence we are experiencing, yes or no? What are we experiencing? Just look into our own experience. What are we experiencing? We experience existence. Yes, I exist. There is existence. I am conscious of this existence. But this existence, unknowingly, in our ignorance, we give a label. What is the label we give? This is the existence of this body. This is a male body, this is a female body. Therefore, I am a man, I am a woman. See, now the coloring starts. The existence is slowly given one by one coloring. I am a man, I am a woman, I am this old. I belong to this profession, this caste, this creed. Color. One after the other color is given. What is it that you experience? Only existence. But then mind starts coloring. Right? So when you start shifting your attention to this existence, which is Satchit Ananda, you cannot shift your attention to this consciousness principle in you without shifting the attention from the body. So remember, there are two things now. One is Kshetrajñya, the knower. The other is Kshetra. Now where are we stuck? We are stuck in the Kshetra. Stuck means what? Attention is fully rooted there. To such an extent that now I consider I am Kshetra. Isn't it? What is the whole of spiritual practice? Take away the attention from Kshetra, shift it to Kshetrajñya. Now what about the properties of Kshetra? The next verse is about that. So everyone has to deal with these two. One is Kshetrajñya, the other is Kshetra. And we have to understand what is Kshetrajñya and we have to understand what is Kshetra. Clear understanding about these two. So naturally the question comes, what is the Kshetra? The next one, verse number 5. Jātasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmādapariharyerthe na tvam shocitumarhasi Jātasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Yes, in that English there is a mistake. It should be haryerthe. I think it is haryarthe it is written. Tasmad apariharye arthe. It should be. How to deal with this body in this world? Very many times people say, Swamiji, I understand this Atma is Satchidananda, immortal and all. But this body, this physical body, what to do with this body? Bhagavan says it is apariharya artha. It is a choiceless situation. Parihara means what? Solution. Aparihara means what? No solution. So as far as the body is concerned, there is no choice given to you. You have to accept the reality as it is. What is the reality? Jātasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Jātasya, the one who is born. Mrityuhu dhruvaha. Dhruvaha means sure. One who is born, death is sure. Is it a choiceful situation or a choiceless situation? Whenever it is a choiceless situation, you have no choice. There is one choice. Either you can grumblingly go through it or you can cheerfully go through it. This choice is yours. As far as the happening is concerned, you have no choice, but the attitude is concerned, you have a choice. Now, as far as the happening is concerned, what is the situation? The one who is born must die. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha, and one who is dead is sure to be born. Means what? Meaning this body just go through the process of recycling. Body has come from the 5 elements. Where should it go back? To 5 elements. Again this will take up another form, come back into life. This will continue. Body is Pancha Mahabhuta, it has to go back. As far as this situation is concerned, there is no choice given to any of us. It is a aparihari arthe. Natvam shochitum arhasi. Therefore you should not grieve. Now the question is, why do we grieve when the body becomes old, sick and dying? Why do we grieve? We grieve because of attachment to this body. What do you mean attachment to this body? Identification with this body. What do you mean identification? Today in our ignorance we think this body is me. So therefore I don't find any difference between the Kshetrajñya, which is the real me, and the Kshetra, which is this body. I don't find a difference. This is the problem. In our ignorance, Kshetrajñya and Kshetra has become one. And therefore the dying of the body means my death. This creates our problem. So what should I do? Shift the attention from the Kshetra to the Kshetrajñya. More of this we will discuss later, because Bhagavān Ramana Maharshi himself is going to deal elaborately how this shifting has to be done. All our sorrows. Now see, there is a relation between the intensity of identification with the body. I'll make an equation now. Intensity of identification with the body is directly proportional to sorrow. Got it? Identification, or rather sorrow, is directly proportional to BMI identification. So therefore if I want to reduce sorrow, what should I do? Start disidentifying from BMI and start identifying with the Kshetrajñya or consciousness. Start identifying with consciousness. The depth of identification with consciousness is inversely proportional to sorrow, or directly proportional to bliss. What is the nature of consciousness? Ananda Swarupa. So if your intensity of identification with consciousness is higher, what you should experience? Greater the intensity of abidance in the self, greater will be the bliss. Why? Because the very nature of the self is Ananda. Are you able to follow? Sorrow is directly proportional to body identification. Bliss is directly proportional to Kshetrajñya identification or consciousness identification. They are all synonymous terms. So the whole process of spirituality is this: intensification of the depth of abidance in the self. Very many times in the class, for some moment that identification happens, isn't it? What do you call? We get a glimpse of the higher. But again we are not able to remain there, again fall down. 1 hour of class, somewhere that identification is there, and then we are happy. But we are not able to remain there. Real sadhana is holding on to that, and that comes with practice. So, if your abidance is really firm in consciousness, will there be any sorrow? If the abidance is firm in consciousness, what will you experience? Sorrow or bliss? Why? You experience bliss because the nature of consciousness is bliss. Are you able to understand? The imperfections, the decaying, the dying, the disease, everything of the body will not affect you because your attention or your identification is not with the BMI, your identification is with the consciousness. You experience the property of that with which you identify. This is the law. You experience the property of that with which you identify. Now there are only two things. One is Kshetra, the other is Kshetrajñya. Choice is yours. With what to identify with, choice is mine. But after identification, whether my experience will be bliss or sorrow, choice is not mine. Are you able to understand? There is a cause-effect relationship. With what to identify, choice is mine. But after identification, what will be my experience? It will be based on the law. And what is the law? With what you identify with, the property of that you experience. Body is limited, body is anyway perishable, it has all imperfection. So when you identify with an imperfect thing, your experience cannot be but sorrow. But when you identify with a perfect thing, what is this perfect thing? Consciousness, the self. Your experience has to be bliss. Is it clear? How to abide there, that we will see later. But this fundamental thing should be clear. You see, if you are experiencing sorrow, one thing is for sure. What is it? You are identified with the BMI. One thing is for sure. Sorrow is a symptom of BMI identification. In the language of devotion, sorrow is a symptom of God forgetfulness. When you forget God, sorrow comes. God and sorrow cannot go together. If sorrow is there, what does it mean? You have forgotten God. If God is there, even in the worst of situations, you will be experiencing peace and bliss. I have changed only the language. One is the language of devotion, the other is the language of knowledge, but it's one and the same thing. Is it clear? So if this is clear, now we have a choiceless situation. What is the choiceless situation? Body has to decay and die. Can you remain blissful even then? Yes. How? Instead of identifying with this body, identify with the truth, the imperishable in you. That's all. And what is the mistake we are doing? We don't know this truth. Instead of this, we are somehow trying to make this body healthy and fine and this and that and so many medicines. Will it work? It might give a temporary relief. I'm not saying don't take medicine, etc. But this choiceless situation has to be always kept in mind. What is it? This body has to go. Let me accept it. Let me not run away from it. Let me not ignore it. The truth is a truth. This body has to go someday or the other. But then I have a choice. What is the choice? I may identify with it or I may disidentify. That choice is mine. There you don't have it is not a choiceless situation. body's death is a choiceless situation, but identifying with this imperfect body is not a choiceless situation, it is a choiceful situation. This we must exercise. And that is where the study of the scriptures come into picture. So what is the message of this scripture? Hold on to the permanent, play in the realms of the impermanent. This is the message. As Puja Guruji says, Andarama Bahar Drama. Andarama, the permanent one, Bahar Drama. Whatever his role is given to you, play according to your role. Just like an actor in the stage. On the stage, an actor is given a beggar's role. So what? He does a beautiful begging role. He acts beautifully as a beggar. Why? He knows he is not a beggar. On the stage, he is ready to die also. Beautifully he dies. Why does he die? Because he knows there is no death, isn't it? You are able to play your role beautifully well because you know you are someone different from your role. In the Ganga, the flow is quite strong. So they have put chains there on the ghats. So what do you do if you want to take a bath? Hold on to the chain and then take bath. So what are you doing? You are doing nothing but this. Holding on to the permanent, the strong, the imperishable, and playing in the realm of the change. Isn't it? It becomes a game. It is not a tragedy. It is not a misery. It's a game. It is called as Leela. That's why this term Leela comes. Bhagavan's Leela means what? It becomes a game. When you are holding on to the permanent, then life is a game. But when you forget the permanent, then the very same life becomes samsara. Isn't it? As far as the dying of the body is concerned, that is not the problem. So the whole point is this. We are not miserable because body is dying. We are miserable because our identification is with the body. So then if you have to have that bliss, what you should do? Shift your attention from the kshetra to the kshetrajñya. Bhagavan, how is the kshetra different from the kshetrajñya? That is the next topic which we will see in the evening. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pasyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhave. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru